Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing. Well, one thing for me, I really don't know how to cook personally. I don't know about you guys. Do you guys know how to cook at all?
Yeah.
No. So we find it a challenge. And so one thing I was wanting to ask is like when you're making a dish, what is the creative process that goes into like creating the flavor, the taste, and the presentation?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think that is the beauty of the art of cooking. It's a unique art form that you really eat with your eyes first, and then with your smell, and then you actually taste the food. And so, as an artist, you're really capturing, you know, a person's attention on many levels. And so, I think the first for me when I'm creating, and this not may not be for all chefs, but I start with the visual. I think through how I want this to look on a plate and what elements need to be there to make it visually appealing. And then I think the second step is making sure you hit a balance of like fatty flavors, salt, acid, and textures. I'm really a big component of having it have multiple levels to it or multiple textures. And then once I back into those, then balancing the flavor has always really come natural for me. Knowing what flavors go well with what ingredients. And so I don't know if that helps answer your question, but that's kind of how I back into creating. And then obviously, working with the environment, what season is it? What ingredients are readily available to create within seasonality?
Yeah. And obviously, one of the main components that goes into like operating a kitchen is teamwork, of course, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Teamwork is huge, and making sure that everyone is on the same page. So when you're doing a plate up, everyone has their individual jobs and they're executing on those jobs. And I think leadership becomes a huge part of working in a kitchen. And in every kitchen I've ever worked in, it feels like very family. Like everyone you're working with, you spend so much time with them that you guys really become family.
And when everyone else is working hard to like put out the dishes, at the same time, there has to be quality control. So would you say you're in charge of quality control, or would someone else be assigned quality control? And would you teach them the ways of how this dish should appear, how it should taste, and so on and so forth?
Yeah, I think that's been maybe one of the greatest challenges I've faced is like helping the younger next generation kind of keep the standard super high. I really love having a level of perfection or a level of quality that helps me stand out in the industry. And so taking lead on that is certainly a job of lead by example. So I roll up my sleeves. I'm not the type of chef that sits in an office and tells the people that work for me what to do and then just let them do it. I'm out there working with them, and I have the privilege of, my wife is also a chef, and so she and I work together on everything. And so it's fun to be able to balance or bounce ideas off each other and really get dialed in on both her vision and my vision together.
Yeah. So
can I ask you a question?
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be amazing. Yeah.
How did this podcast come about? You guys are siblings, correct?
Yes. Yeah. Sibling. So this podcast came to be is, if you look on the internet, social media and so forth, there's so much like entertainment that is not helpful towards younger generations. And they're just sitting there in their homes, looking on their phone for hours and hours and hours and not being productive at all. And like, even if they go out to hang out with friends, they're still on their phones, and where's the communication? So we wanted to like take the source of entertainment and make it educational, but at the same time interesting, by getting interviews with many people in different types of careers that might interest the younger generations to find a mentor or a certain career they find interesting and go after it and just try to find a way to like bring it to them and just like manifest like a possible future that they want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I think the first step is just doing it. I feel like
absolutely.
The younger generation, for whatever reason, everything's brought to them so easily with technology and with the internet. It's just at the, you know, it's really, and it requires work. So hats off to you guys for like actually doing it and like having the idea and then going out and doing it.
Yeah. And of course, we have to thank our mom as well for helping us out with this too. So
yeah. Mom's a pretty incredible person. Yeah. So you got a good one there.
Yeah.
Hey, what are your guys' ages and like what interests you in a profession?
All right, so we're gonna start from youngest to oldest. All right.
All right.
Okay. I'm 13 currently. I'm in 9th grade, and I don't know. I really want to have my own business. So we'll see how that goes.
What about that?
I have 2 business ideas. It's either fashion making, so like clothing, or I would make like Italian sodas, because I do that at home, and so I kind of wanted to do it for like as a business. So yeah.
So I always tell people that if I didn't become a chef, I would love to be in the fashion industry, and I love fashion, and I think that fashion and food actually go really well because the fashion industry is changing constantly, like every day something new, some new trend. And that's how the food industry is. Like it's never stagnant and it's always changing. So it allows you to stay creative and excited about work. It's fashion would be fun to be in. So push for it.
Yeah. All right. You got some encouraging words. That's awesome. All right.
So I'm Ezra and I'm 15. And so the type of field that I want to go into is something creative, because it helps me as a person to kind of grow and become more of who I want to be in the future. And so kind of what I want to go into is something like she was saying, something in fashion or something in art, something like NFTs, like those are big. So becoming one of those or something like that, I think is something that interests me a lot.
So I'll give you guys a little secret. I got into NFTs about 6 months ago, and you know that's a rabbit hole. Once you start going down, it gets crazy really fast, and you start buying all these NFTs, and it's such a new space that all of us are kind of learning at the same time. But we're throwing around this idea of starting a restaurant based on an NFT. And so you would table by purchasing an NFT, and then you would, every time you use the table, it's free to you because you own it. But every time you're not at the restaurant, you make a commission off the price of the ticket sold at that table that night. So you become like a part owner of a restaurant.
Ooh, that sounds like
dude,
really
NFTs are exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.